I am not the best speaker ever. I'm not the best writer ever. But whenever I produce content, I always think about you. My customers, my friends, my family, everyone that's watching and everyone that reads my content, I always think about you and how I can help you guys out. So this video is about how you can create meaningful content and why meaningful content is very, very important nowadays, especially with so many people creating content and everyone wants to stand out of all of the people in the world creating content. It becomes very, very noisy. And so what you really have to think about when you're creating your content is, first, what are you actually trying to solve with your customer? What problems are you helping them to solve? So really, I mean, like when you're running a business or when you're writing content, you're trying to provide solutions for people. Even if you are only writing or making a video, like vlogging and telling about your life, you're still actually trying to help other people out. Even if it's just a daily routine that you're showing on your video. You know, you're showing people how you live, and maybe that can actually help people out to solve something. So that is the number one thing that you always have to think about when you're writing your content or when you're making your videos. Solve a customer's problem and be helpful. And you know, maybe you're not so serious, maybe you want to make something funny, and that's okay, but just try to solve some sort of problem and make whatever content you're making meaningful, as meaningful as possible. The number two thing that I want you to think about is, as you're creating all of your content, you have to fit in with your brand. So the content that you create should be fairly related from piece to piece to piece. Like one day you film about snowboarding and then the next day you film about eating ice cream. That's going to be completely disconnected, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is your content should be definitely all connected. Like me, I'm all about self-development and books and business. So all of these things are very related. And in just a little bit, I'm going to give you 6 book recommendations that I highly recommend reading if you want to try and improve your content. Okay, so let's move on to that last point, number 3, before I give you the book recommendations. So the third one here is how to actually stand out through all the people that are creating their content. How do you stand out from the rest? Well, you have to make your content unique to yourself, because there is no one else in this world that is exactly like you. Right? There's only one Matt Hudson here. There's only one of you. So your experiences are unique. Even though maybe someone has experienced something a little bit similar to you, it's not going to be exactly the same because they don't have the same body and they don't have the same mind. So by opening up about your own personal life, by trying to tell your experiences, you're going to be unique. And if you do it in a fun, exciting way, then that customer or that viewer or that reader can even connect more with you on an emotional level. So definitely think about those 3 things. Think about them hard before you make any sort of content in the future. And this will definitely help to improve your meaningfulness, the meaningfulness of your content. Okay, so now let's get into those 6 book recommendations that will definitely help you to improve your content creation. Now, some of these are actually not exactly directly related to content. Okay, so here we'll get into the first one. The first one here is called Contagious, and it's by Jonah Berger, if you can see it there. Contagious is a book that I read probably a little bit over a year ago, and it is all about why things catch on. And it goes through 6 steps. One of those steps, which I absolutely loved, was about storytelling. And the rest of them deal with some psychological things that you can really apply in the content that you make. So if you go through this book and you try to apply each step in the content that you make, then you're going to increase your chances of going viral and increase your chances of connecting with people. Okay, so that's the first book suggestion there. The second one is a little bit similar. Maybe you guys heard of this one, or at least the author there, Robert Cialdini. This is Persuasion, and his most famous book is called Influence. And basically it's a persuasion book. You can learn how to persuade people in an ethical way. And this book extends on the 6 laws of persuasion. I definitely recommend learning a lot about persuasion, how to persuade people, because when you're creating your videos, when you're writing your stuff, if you use these persuasive techniques, even in this book it talks a little bit about how to create videos. So like it's definitely a recommended book, and you'll be able to learn a lot how to persuade people in an ethical way. Okay, and the third book that I have here is called The $1 Million Blog. It's by Natasha Courtney Smith, and this was the first blogging book that I have ever read, and it was way back in, I believe, beginning of January 2016 when I read that book. And it's a wonderful introduction to blogging. It doesn't talk a lot about content creation, but it talks a lot about what goes into creating a blog and how your interests can actually become a business, and your blogging can actually become a business. And I just really liked how pumped up this book made me feel about blogging. So it's really recommended if you like writing and if you have a blog. And even if you don't write in a blog, you could possibly apply some of these takeaways into YouTube here or even Instagram. So definitely check that one out. It's really easy, pretty quick read, recommended for sure. And this one here, it's called Impact Equation, and it's by Chris Brogan and Julian Smith. I read this one at the beginning of 2018, or finished it at the beginning of 2018, and it's got a lot about content, and I highly recommend this because it has a lot about content and how to connect and how to build trust and authenticity in your content. These are probably the top 2 most important factors: trust and authenticity, being yourself, telling stories. All of these are in this book, and it goes into a lot more detail, so recommend picking this one up. Thank you, Chris Brogan. This one is by far one of the most important, in my opinion. The Storyteller's Secret by Carmen Gallo. And this guy has written, you know, a really famous book called Talk Like TED. So if you haven't heard of this one, you probably know Talk Like TED. And it really goes into depth about storytelling. You can tell from the title. Goes into big depth about the storytelling. And it gives you so many easily takeaways about storytelling and how you can apply this. So whether you're making a video or whether you're actually writing the content, you can apply these takeaways in this book into your content, into your public speaking gigs. I absolutely love this book, and there's some really heart-pounding, heart-touching stories in there about famous people, about some people that I hadn't even heard of. There's Oprah Winfrey, there's Malala, there's, I believe, Elon Musk is in there. Like, there's so many different stories in there that are very applicable, and you can learn a lot from them. And the very last book, which is more of a marketing book, but I absolutely loved it, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And this does go into a little bit of storytelling, and it has a SB7, Story Brand 7 framework that you can easily apply to the content that you make. You can really apply this framework to make meaningful content. I really recommend this if you're running a business, running a blog, running a website, running a YouTube channel, any sort of content that you are creating. This book is really well worth it, and you just have to check it out. It is a must. Save the best for last, literally the best for last here. So just remember those 3 things that I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, and pick up these books. I will include the links below, and get out there, start making some meaningful content. Remember about your customer, put your customer first. Whatever they need help with, you are there to help them with your content, with your products, with anything that you're doing. So I hope you learned a lot from this. There's lots of takeaways that I mentioned here, and lots of books that I mentioned as well. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, leave a comment, and I will see you next video. Thank you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like these. Also follow my other social media accounts such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for more valuable content. Thank you for watching again, and I will see you guys next time.